I had never imagined that signing a loan would become the moment I realized I no longer recognized my own family. My daughter, Melissa, had offered to drive me to the bank. She said it would save me the stress of dealing with paperwork alone. I appreciated that. Since retiring, I had accepted that some things moved faster than I preferred, and having someone beside me made the morning feel easier. The loan wasn't extravagant. My roof needed replacing before another winter, and I'd decided borrowing a modest amount was better than ignoring the damage. While I was reviewing the final pages, my phone vibrated. It was my neighbor, Linda. She almost never called during the day. When I answered, her voice was unusually quiet. "Are you moving?" I frowned. "No, I'm at the bank with Melissa." There was a long pause before she whispered, "Then why is somebody loading your furniture into a truck?" For a second, I thought she had the wrong house. Then I turned toward my daughter. She had frozen. Her eyes met her husband's across the waiting area. He had been sitting a few chairs away, supposedly answering work emails. The look they exchanged lasted barely a moment, but it wasn't confusion, it was calculation. I ended the call. "What's happening at my house?" Melissa smiled too quickly. "It's probably just a misunderstanding involving my furniture." Her husband stood. We were going to explain everything. Those words settled heavily between us. I gathered my paperwork without another sentence and walked out. Neither of them tried to stop me. The drive home felt strangely silent. My thoughts kept circling old conversations that hadn't seemed important before, suggestions that my house was too much work, comments about downsizing, repeated reminders that I'd be happier closer to them. Each one had sounded caring. Together, they suddenly sounded like preparation. When I turned onto my street, a moving truck sat in my driveway. Two workers were carrying my dining room chairs toward the back. One of them smiled politely. "Good afternoon. What are you doing?" He looked surprised. "We were hired to move everything." "By whom?" He mentioned my son-in-law's name. I told them to stop immediately. They hesitated, clearly uncomfortable. "We've already loaded quite a bit." Before the situation could become an argument, I called the local police department's non-emergency line and explained that people were removing property from my home without my authorization. An officer arrived within minutes. His first question was simple: "Who owns this house?" "I do." He asked the movers whether they had written authorization from the owner. They didn't. "Only a contract signed by someone who wasn't listed on the property records." The officer's expression changed. He calmly instructed the crew to stop unloading anything else and wait while everything was documented. No shouting, no dramatic confrontation, just procedure. For the first time that afternoon, momentum shifted away from everyone else. Melissa arrived a few minutes later. She looked more frightened than angry. "We were trying to help," she said quietly. "You've been struggling with maintenance. I never asked you to move me. You would have said no." "Exactly." The officer didn't interrupt. He simply continued writing his report while the movers began carrying my belongings back inside. Watching my own furniture return through the front door felt strangely symbolic. Not because of the furniture itself, because someone else had decided my life should change without my permission. Over the next several weeks, I changed my legal paperwork. I met with an attorney. I updated emergency contacts. I granted limited powers where appropriate instead of assuming trust would always be enough. None of those decisions were made out of anger. They were made because trust deserves structure, not assumptions. Melissa apologized more than once. I believe she regretted what had happened, but regret couldn't erase the fact that she had mistaken concern for authority. We still speak. Birthdays are quieter now. Holidays require clearer boundaries. Some people think that's sad. I don't. Relationships don't always end with slammed doors. Sometimes they continue with different rules. The new roof was finished a month later. One evening, I sat on my porch watching the sun disappear behind the trees. The house was still mine, not because I had fought harder than anyone else, because when it mattered most, I calmly insisted that my voice could not be replaced, not even by the people who loved me enough to believe they should decide my future.